Copywriting is the most important skill you need to have as a marketer. And so in this video, we're going to break down what copywriting is, what the common problems with copywriting are, or what common mistakes people make when copywriting, as well as the basic fundamentals of copywriting. So first off, what is copywriting itself? Well, copywriting, very simply put, is words designed to sell. That's it. All it is the words you put on a piece of paper, on a page, on a funnel, on an ad, whatever it is, they've got to be designed to sell something. Simply put, there's no need to overcomplicate this. Don't go thinking, oh, well, copywriting is the this or the that or whatever. No, it's just words designed to sell. Now, what are common problems that we typically see with copywriting? Because at the end of the day, the word's designed to sell, but where do most people go wrong? Most people go wrong by not speaking to the right person. Typically, some of the worst copywriters I've ever seen are not able to articulate their consumer effectively. And so what ends up happening is they say all this random garbage, or they say what they think the answer is, but they don't understand where their consumer is at. Think about it as if you are a PhD professor of mathematics at MIT teaching that concept to a 4-year-old. That 4-year-old is not going to understand shit. You need to talk about counting. You need to talk about very basic math. If that, you need to teach them what 4 even is. And so the problem we see with copywriters or newer copywriters across the board is they will be speaking to the wrong person. They will have an understanding of a high-level sales rep or high-level marketer or high-level whatever the business is, and they will try to speak to somebody as if they already understand those concepts. It's not true. Sometimes the hardest part of copywriting is removing yourself from your current situation to then speak to the right type of person. So that's the first common problem. The second common problem is filler words. One of the biggest issues we see with all advertising, with pretty much anything, is people think that because these are words designed to sell, they have to sell. Every word has to sell. It's got to be fluffy. It's got to be pretty. It's got to be nice. There's got to be a ton of words. That's just not the case at all. When you write copy, and we'll explain this in a bit as we dive into the actual writing portion of this. If I have 4 or 5 lines, my goal is to see if I can get it to just be one, because there's no need to say a bunch of things. There's no need for you to create a bunch of fluff around something if it does not add any value. If I am getting bored because you are saying too much, that's a problem. The other thing you'll notice with a lot of copy, if it's email or even funnels in general, is you'll never see big old paragraphs. Typically, you'll see line, space, a line, space, a line. And the reason that this is similar to the same effect as a filler word. If I get thrown a paragraph, I'm not going to want to read it. Whereas if I get a bunch of individual lines, I'm then going to want to read it. Very, very simple. And so that's the other common problem is filler words / too much text. The last common problem that we see all the time is not speaking like the owner. This is the most common problem I see, where a copywriter will write some ChatGPT slop, or they'll write the way that they speak, and it's not like the owner. And this is something, I mean, to date, after copywriting for multiple years at this point, I still struggle with, is writing in the owner's voice. It is one of the hardest things to do. It's one of the hardest skill sets to learn. With AI, there's a bunch of ways that you can amplify this process, but being able to speak like the owner is extremely important, because if somebody consumes a piece of content, like an email, before a sales call or before they speak to the owner, and those don't sound the same, it's going to be very off-putting. Same thing with if I give a script to an owner to read for an ad, and the owner's like, bro, this does not sound like me at all. That's going to be a problem. He's not going to come off as authentic, or she's not going to come off as authentic. And so you must know how to actually speak like the owner. Those are like the big key problems we see. And so in order to avoid this, we're going to go into the basics of actual copywriting. Now, the first thing I want to do is understand my avatar. And there's a video on the channel about understanding your avatar for copywriting. But you want to understand everything. And what you'll see us often talk about is the who, the what, and the where. And you can ask these in multiple different ways. Who am I speaking to? Who are they related to? Who are they in life? Who is their character? What do they do? What do they like to do? What do they not like to do? What do they sell? Where? Where are they? Are they an online business? Are they an in-person business? Where do they spend all of their time? Where do they get all their information from? And all I'm doing is I'm just spinning these 3 questions to paint the picture of who my avatar is. Because when I'm writing copy, I'm doing one simple thing. I want you to imagine this being your avatar. All my copywriting is supposed to do is say, okay, Joe, let's put you in some grass. Joe's familiar with grass. Joe lives in a little house with one of those like weird orange shackled roofs you see in Florida or Spain or Italy. I can't remember. That roof, maybe there's a sun in the sky. Maybe he's got a son. I don't know. But what I'm doing and what my copy is doing is it is painting this picture so that Joe goes, oh, that's me. That's all your copy is supposed to do. It's supposed to get your prospects to go, oh, he's talking to me right now. Awesome. That's it. And so by understanding these questions, we can now paint this picture to get your avatar to say, oh, that's me. Once I've done that, and I understand who my avatar is, the second thing I need to do is map desires and problems. I need to list out all of the desires that my prospect has and all of the problems that they have. And then how does solving this problem create this desire? I'm going to sell the solution. That's it. Or how does the desire need to get solved? Simply put, that's it. When I map this out, what I can then do is I can look for the core desire. So what is the one thing that if solved, everything else is irrelevant to them? What is the one thing that they actually care about? Is it making more money? Because if the problem is show rate, the desire is making more money. If the problem is close rate, the desire is making more money. If the problem is your click-through rate, the desire is to make more money. If your ad performance was not directly tied to making money, nobody would give a fuck about the ads. But here's what's interesting. There's a study done by the CIA, or it may not be a study, it may have just been something I heard from a CIA operative, where when they would go to recruit agents or people to spy on their home countries, almost 95% of all of those people were motivated by money. That was it. And so it's important to understand that the root desire of spying was money. Now, are there subliminal things like, oh, I feel powerful, I feel wanted, I feel respected, I feel all of these different things? Yeah. But at the end of the day, the core desire was to make more money. And a lot of you guys, that is going to be the core desire. Now, occasionally you'll have, chiropractors that need health benefits, or fitness trainers that need people just want to lose weight to then feel better, to show up to their families, to then make more money. If I sleep better, I make more money. So at the end of the day, figure out what the root desire is, and that's what you want to outline. Now, once I've done that, I understand my avatar, I've mapped the desires and the problems. Then what I can do is I can start creating my core sales argument. All this is a document that you can use going forward in all of your marketing material that outlines how to sell to your avatar. Very, very simple. I'm going to break down who they are, what they want, where they're at in life, where their situation is, what their desires are, what their problems are, what common objections they deal with, what limiting beliefs may they have. All of these different things, I'm going to list that out on one big document. It's going to become the core sales document. And this is something that, again, you'll change over time as you look at sales call recordings, etc. But I'm creating the core sales argument. From there, I can begin writing copy, right? This can be for things like ads, funnels, webinars, etc. Again, we're not going to overcomplicate this. If you want more in-depth copywriting info, there's going to be a link below. You can book a call to speak to myself or a member of my team about getting copywriting consulting help, or working with the agency where we can just do all of this for you. And then again, with some of the consulting help, you'll get access to modules that are a lot more in depth in terms of a lot of this stuff. But the key thing is then you want to start writing ads, funnels, and webinars. And here is what most people completely fuck up on is, one, they understand their avatar, but they don't understand where their avatar exists within the market. There are two concepts that are very important to understand. You have market sophistication and you have market awareness. These tell you exactly how much they currently know about your solution or about their problem. And it also tells you how many other people are selling to that same desire. This will change how I write the ad. If no one has heard of me before and I have a low level of awareness and a low level of sophistication, I can just say something like, if you want to make more money, click the link below. And people will click because there's no competition. The market wants to make money, but they don't know how, they don't know what, they have no level of awareness. So they're going to click the link, they're going to go. That's at like bare minimum. If we go to the other side, and they already know how they want to make money. They know they want to make money with this business model, and there's a dozen people selling the business model. I would say something like, hey, if you want to make money by copywriting, and you've looked at all of these other courses, and they all look the same, here's how we teach copywriting using step A, step B, and step C to help you achieve ABC result. Let me show you a live demo. This is the same thing that Susie, Johnny, Ashley, Martin all used to get ABC result. If you want to learn more, click the link below. And so what I've done is I've spoken to somebody that's seen it all. They have a high level of awareness. They have a high level of sophistication. They've been burnt before, so you need to show them every little bit. And that's the most important thing, is understanding where your avatars are from a sophistication perspective and from an awareness perspective. Now, once I've done that, the key thing to all of this is understanding what are called open loops. And this is very simple. If I have the ad that goes to the funnel, that goes to sales call, my job is not to sell them on buying here. It's to create an open loop that can only be closed at the funnel, and then create an open loop that can only be closed at the sales call. I don't need to sell them on buying in the ad. I just need to sell them on going to the funnel. And I don't need to sell them on buying in the funnel. I just need to sell them on going to the sales call. That is the key to copywriting that all of you guys need to understand, is the sales that you are making. You are never going to sell somebody directly on buying right then and there unless there is a checkout link and they are buying right then and there. You just need to sell them on taking the next action. In copy, the actual writing itself, all you're selling them on, all the open loop is the next sentence. And then I need to sell them on the next sentence, and then the next sentence, and then the next sentence. It's very, very simple. Yet people overcomplicate the living shit out of this. The one thing I want to emphasize with copy specifically, because we can get technical and I can show you examples and I can walk you through all this fancy stuff. At the end of the day, all you need to understand who the avatar is, what their desires and problems are, write out the core sales argument, then understand where they're at from a market sophistication perspective and from market awareness perspective. And now that I understand this concept of open loops, the only thing I need to do is just write. So many people overcomplicate the copywriting process, and they think they need to use certain words and certain transitions and understand complex topics like leveraging identity and indirect testimonial, objection handling, and all of this fancy stuff. As you get more advanced, yeah, that's great. We encourage you to do that. Again, if you want access to those course modules, there's a link below. You can speak to myself about consulting, or we can just, you get access to all this stuff when we do the done for you things. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of complex stuff, but at the end of the day, all you've got to do is just write to the person. And this is why the AI stuff is so sloppy, because no one would write like that. If you just took a step back and you said, I'm going to write to this individual, how would you do it? You would just write. You would keep it simple. You wouldn't overcomplicate it. The biggest problem I think a lot of schools have when teaching writing to like lower grades is they give word counts. They give paragraph counts. They give page counts. You need to hit this number of pages. You need to write this much, whatever. That is completely wrong. All I need to do is make the sale. I need to get my point across. And if it takes me 3 words to get my point across, my point's across. Let's take a very vulgar example. I can say something like, let's say I'm disrespecting somebody to their face. Yeah, man, so I was thinking about all of these things, and as I look you in your eyes, you tell me all of this stuff, and then I get angry, and you suck, and I don't like you, and blah, 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 blah. And I can ramble, and I can like beat around the bush. Or I can just say, and excuse my French, fuck you. 2 words, same point. If anything, more emotional impact. And so that's the key thing is when you are writing, all you want to do is make the sale. I do not care about fluff and all this shit. I just need to make the sale. Very, 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 very simple. And the way that we typically teach people to do this is by creating an outline. If my goal is money, what's the first sale they need to make? What are the supporting points? What's the second sale? What are the supporting points? What's the third sale? What are the supporting points? Now what I've done is I've listed out the bullets, and all I've got to do now is go back and say, okay, what do I need to write here? What do I need to write for this? What do I need to write for that? How does this all tie together? And then the same thing here, and then the same thing here. And I've now created my entire sales argument. A lot of the industry will tell you, oh, your VSLs need to be 20 minutes long. Your sales pages need to be massive. Your emails need to be super value dense and long. And like, yeah, to an extent. But if it takes me 3 minutes to communicate my point in a VSL or a video sales letter, awesome. If it takes me 30 minutes in a webinar, awesome. What you'll realize is a lot of those numbers come from best practices, but the principle is all I need to do is make the sales. And that's all copywriting is. So to summarize, guys, again, all copywriting is are words designed to sell. Don't overcomplicate this right away. A lot of the common problems we see are you don't speak to the right person, you use filler words or too much fluff in your copy, and you don't speak like the actual owner. Again, that last one's pretty hard, but over time, you'll get a good grip on it. If you're writing for yourself, so much easier. Once you've done that, or once you understand the common problems, here are the basics, and we're just going to recap. You need to understand who your avatar is. Once you need to do that, map out their desires, their problems, their limiting beliefs, where they're at with everything. Then write out your core sales argument. Write out the foundational document that's going to be used across everything inside of the business. Once you have the core sales argument, then seek to understand all of the competition in the market as a whole. So I understand who, I understand what they want, I have the foundation written out. Now I need to understand what they're seeing on the outside. What is the sophistication level? What is the market awareness level? We've got a video on market awareness as well, so check that out on the channel. And then the last thing is when I actually go to write the copy, I'm using a principle called open loops, both from an ad to a funnel perspective, but also from a line to line perspective. And when I do this, all I'm trying to do is make the sale. I'm not overcomplicating this process. The way that we do this is we outline exactly what we want to say, and then we write. You don't just go writing because you'll drift off, you'll create loops, you'll not follow a straightforward path to success. So all you're going to do, outline what you're looking to write it out. Now, if you want more in-depth copywriting training, there's going to be some other videos on the channel you can check out. You can book a call to speak to myself or the team about us actually doing it for you on the agency side, whether you're an info product or in capital raising space, or we do have an info product you guys can check out where we break down a lot of this stuff in more depth. So feel free to click the link below, learn a little bit more. If you like content like this, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.